What if the key to transforming your life could be unlocked in just 10 minutes every morning? Imagine starting your day with a powerful spiritual practice that connects you directly with God's presence. What if silence, surrender, and trust could change the course of your day? In this video, we'll explore the ancient wisdom found in the Bible and reveal how these time-tested practices can elevate your spiritual journey. From the stillness of Elijah's whisper to Abraham's dramatic surrender on Mount Moriah, these profound spiritual lessons have been right in front of us the whole time. What if you've been missing out on life-changing blessings simply because you haven't taken these moments of connection seriously? Get ready for a shocking, practical guide to starting your day the right way, and learn how small shifts in your morning routine can bring profound peace and divine guidance into every area of your life. Are you ready to experience this spiritual awakening? Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help others unlock their true potential. In the chaos of life, we often expect God to appear in grand, undeniable ways: a thunderous voice, a burning bush, or a parting sea. But sometimes God chooses to speak in the stillness. Elijah learned this profound truth in a moment of deep despair. Fleeing from Jezebel's wrath, Elijah found himself hiding in a cave, consumed by fear and doubt. He longed for God's reassurance, hoping for a dramatic sign of divine intervention. But when the wind roared, the earthquake shook the ground, and fire blazed, God was not in them. Instead, he came as a gentle whisper. 1 Kings 19:11-13. This moment wasn't just a lesson for Elijah, it's a message for all of us. We often search for God in the noise through busyness, distraction, or even our desperation for answers. We look for him in the grand gestures, believing that's where he resides. But his presence is most palpable in the silence. In your daily life, think about how often you drown out silence with noise. From the moment you wake up, the world pulls at your attention. Notifications buzz, deadlines loom, and responsibilities pile up. Even in moments of stillness, your mind races with worries or plans for the day ahead. This constant noise makes it nearly impossible to hear God's whisper. Have you ever felt that deep sense of unease, a restlessness in your soul that no amount of activity can quiet? That's often God calling you to step away from the distractions and sit in his presence. It's in the quiet moments free from interruption that you begin to recognize the whisper of God guiding you, comforting you, and reminding you of his love. Elijah's story teaches us that silence isn't empty, it's rich with divine presence. When you allow yourself to sit in that stillness, you create space for God to reveal himself. It's in this space that you find clarity, peace, and direction. But how do you embrace this practice of silence in a world that thrives on noise? First, set aside intentional time for quiet. Start small. Maybe it's 10 minutes in the morning before the day begins, or a few moments before bed. Find a place free from distractions, turn off your phone, close your laptop, and let the world fade away. Like Elijah, position yourself to listen. Don't fill the silence with requests or complaints. Instead, simply say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." 1 Samuel 3:10. Second, resist the urge to control the silence. Many people feel uncomfortable in stillness because it forces them to confront their thoughts, fears, or doubts. But this is exactly where God meets you. He uses this time to reveal the areas in your life that need his touch: your unspoken fears, your hidden wounds, your unconfessed sins. Instead of avoiding these revelations, lean into them. They are not meant to shame you, but to transform you. Third, trust in God's timing. Elijah waited for God to speak, and it didn't happen in the way he expected. You might not hear God's whisper immediately, but that doesn't mean he's not there. Silence isn't a void. It's a sacred waiting space where God is working in ways you cannot yet see. Finally, carry this stillness into your daily life. Silence isn't just about a set-aside moment, it's about cultivating an attitude of listening throughout your day. As you go about your work, your conversations, and your tasks, keep your heart tuned to God's whisper. Pay attention to the gentle nudges, the fleeting thoughts, or the unexpected moments of peace. These are often his ways of guiding you. Reflecting on Elijah's experience, it's clear that God's presence is not limited to extraordinary events. His power is equally profound in the quiet moments. When you embrace silence like Elijah did, you open yourself to an intimacy with God that is unmatched. Consider this. What if the answers you've been seeking, the peace you've been longing for, and the purpose you've been struggling to find have been waiting in the stillness all along? What if, like Elijah, all you need to do is step away from the chaos and into the silence to hear God's gentle whisper? Don't let the noise of the world drown out the voice of the one who created it. God is speaking even now. Are you listening? Point 2, surrender like Abraham on Mount Moriah. Surrender is one of the hardest lessons we must learn in life. It goes against every instinct we have to hold on to control and to secure our futures. Yet the story of Abraham on Mount Moriah shows us the profound spiritual power of letting go and trusting God completely. Abraham's faith was tested in an unimaginable way. God asked him to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac, the child he had waited for, the promise God himself had given. The sheer weight of this request is almost incomprehensible. Isaac represented not only Abraham's joy and love as a father, but also the fulfillment of God's covenant. How could a good and loving God ask for something so precious? But Abraham didn't hesitate. Early the next morning, he set out with Isaac and the necessary items for the sacrifice. Step by agonizing step, he climbed Mount Moriah, each one a testament to his trust in God. When Isaac asked where the lamb for the offering was, Abraham's response was filled with faith. God himself will provide the lamb, Genesis 22:8. This moment holds a powerful lesson for us. Abraham didn't know how God would resolve this. He didn't have the answers. But he trusted that God's plan was greater than his understanding. In our lives, surrender often feels just as daunting. We cling tightly to things we treasure: relationships, careers, dreams, or even control over our lives. These are not inherently bad things, but when we hold on to them too tightly, they can become idols that take the place of God in our hearts. Imagine the thing you hold most dear. Maybe it's your financial security, your health, or the future you've envisioned for your children. What would it look like to place that thing on the altar? As Abraham did with Isaac, and trust God completely. It's terrifying, isn't it? But surrender is not about loss, it's about trust. In daily life, surrender starts with small acts of faith. Begin each day by acknowledging that you are not in control. Say a simple prayer: Lord, I surrender this day to you. Lead me where you will. Let this become your mantra, not just in the morning, but in every moment of uncertainty. Next, identify the areas where you resist surrender. Perhaps it's a decision you're avoiding because you fear the outcome, or a relationship you're clinging to despite knowing it's not aligned with God's will. Write these things down. Be honest with yourself. Then, one by one, bring them to God in prayer. Lord, you might say, I surrender my career to you. I trust that your plans for me are better than anything I could imagine. Or, Lord, I give you my fears about my children's future. Help me to trust that you love them even more than I do. The act of surrender doesn't mean you stop caring or working toward your goals. Abraham still climbed the mountain. He still prepared the altar. But it does mean releasing your grip on the outcome and trusting that God's ways are higher than yours, Isaiah 55:8-9. There's also a practical aspect to surrender. It's not passive, it's active obedience. Abraham didn't just sit at home and wait for God to sort things out. He moved forward in faith, even when he didn't understand. Similarly, in your own life, surrender means taking steps of obedience, even when the path isn't clear. It might mean forgiving someone who hurt you deeply, trusting that God will handle the justice. Or it could mean stepping out in faith to pursue a calling that scares you, believing that God will equip you. The reward of surrender is freedom. When Abraham lifted the knife to sacrifice Isaac, God stopped him and provided a ram as a substitute. Abraham's faith had been tested, and he had proven his trust in God. In return, God reaffirmed his covenant and blessed Abraham abundantly. Genesis 22:12-18. In your life, when you surrender, you open yourself to God's blessings in ways you cannot foresee. The very thing you fear losing may be the thing God restores in greater measure, or he may replace it with something far better. Surrender is not about defeat, it's about trust. It's about stepping back and letting God be God. Ask yourself today, what am I holding on to that I need to place on the altar? And then in faith, take the first step towards surrender. Like Abraham, you'll find that when you let go, you don't lose. Instead, you gain the peace, freedom, and blessings that come from trusting the one who holds your life in his hands. What do you think about surrendering your worries and trusting God completely? Have you experienced a moment when letting go brought unexpected blessings? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who might need it.